Hello dear students, I'm Dr. Moin. In this video we are going to discuss about quality control. We will see what is quality of the product. So in any industry which is synthesizing some product, so there is a department which is called quality control department, which see how to control the quality of the product to attract more and more people towards their product. So in this video we will see different parameters, different terminologies which are involved in this field of quality control. So let's get started. Before starting the video, if you didn't subscribe my channel yet, then subscribe it right now and also press the bell icon so you may get in touch with my upcoming videos. So let's start from quality. Quality is simply stated as fit for use or purpose. Mean you have purchased an item and definitely you have purchased it for some purpose. So whether it's performing its function well for that purpose or not, this is called quality of that product. So it is all about meeting the needs and expectations of the customer with respect to functionality, design, reliability, durability, and price of the product. So whenever a customer purchases a product, so he or she has some expectations behind that, and they might be due to the functionality of that product, how it functions, what is the design of that product, how much it is reliable in its performance, and what is the durability of the product, how long it works, and what is the price of the product, whether it's quite of handsome amount or it is very much expensive. In simpler words, meeting users' requirements is known as quality. So in this way we can sum up the term quality, that meeting users' requirements, so this is called quality of the product. Then let's see what is quality control, QC. It is a process through which a business seeks to ensure that the product quality is maintained or improved. So quality control, actually it is a process by which someone which may be the businessman or an industrialist, so that seeks to ensure that the product which is going to be manufactured in his industry, so the quality of that is maintained or it is improved. So it is that process actually. So quality control requires the business to create an environment in which both management and employees strive for perfection. So it requires to create an environment in which everyone involved, including both management and employees, and all of them work hard to get perfection, mean to design the product which is perfect in its characteristics. This is done by training personnels, creating benchmarks for the product quality, and testing products to check for statistically significant variations. And how it is done, mean how perfection is obtained. So there are different types of employees which are working in different areas of an industry. So all of them should be properly trained in their working. Then to create benchmark, to create standard, that how much what is the perfection level they are desiring. And then finally when product is prepared, then testing it time and again to see whether the quality of the product is maintained or not. A major aspect of quality control is the establishment of well-defined controls. So another which is a more important aspect of quality control, and that is the setting of well-defined controls, and these controls these address towards various quality related issues which are occurring during the process. Limiting space for errors by specifying which production activities are to be performed by which personnel. So the persons can be assigned their tasks, that which person has to perform what type of duties. In this way, errors may be reduced. And not allowing the employees to be involved in the tasks for which they don't have adequate training. So again, this is a thing that the person which has a proper training for some task, only that must be assigned that task, not other person which don't have an adequate training for that thing. So those employees should not be involved to perform those tasks. In this way, errors may be reduced. Quality control used in a business is highly dependent on the product or industry, and several techniques exist for measuring quality. So quality control actually depends upon the product or industry, and there are different measuring tools for the quality which are available. It can be said that quality control is the process involved within the system to ensure job management, competence, and performance during the manufacturing or testing of the product, to ensure it meets the quality plan as designed. Quality control involves testing of units and determining whether they are within the specifications for the final product. So quality control actually it involves testing of all the units which make the whole industry. So all the units are tested individually, and in this way it is determined that whether they are working properly, whether they are working in such a way that they can give the final product of expected characteristics. The purpose of the testing is to determine any needs for corrective actions in the manufacturing process. And what is the need of this testing? That whether these units are working properly or not, whether they are in position to give the final product of desired specifications or not, and if they are not, so that we can perform some measurements, some corrective actions, so that they can perform well. Good quality control helps companies meet consumer demands for better products. So if quality control is good, so definitely there is more attraction of the people towards that product. Quality testing involves each step of manufacturing process, and the testing actually it involves all the steps of manufacturing. So testing is done at all the steps of manufacturing. So in this way the quality of the product is maintained. For example, employees often begin with the testing of raw materials. So testing starts with raw material, mean before start of the process. Then testing also continues, and for that purpose employees they pull samples from the manufacturing line, and then after raw materials this testing remains continued during the process of production. So samples are pulled from the manufacturing line and they are tested, and then test the finished products, and then this testing remains continue till we get the final product. And in this way the quality of the product is maintained. Testing at various stages helps to identify where a production problem is occurring, and the remedial steps it requires to prevent it in future. So as I mentioned earlier, that the individual units are tested individually, and this helps us to get to know that where the problem is occurring from and what remedial steps can be taken over there so that the problem can be prevented to occur in the future. Quality control used in a business is highly dependent on the product or industry. So the quality control used in some business or industry, so it depends upon the product or industry. For example, how can we explain it? So here are some examples. For example, in food and drug manufacturing, quality control includes ensuring the product does not make a consumer sick. So the final product we have prepared we are working in an industry of food or drug manufacturing. So now we have the final product. So what will be the testing of this product actually? So it is to ensure that the product does not make a consumer sick. So this is very much important testing. So the company performs various chemical and microbiological testing of samples from the production lines. So on raw material or samples are taken from the production line and then finished products. So various samples are taken and various chemical and microbiological testing is applied on them to make it ensure that this product will not make the consumer sick. Since the appearance of the prepared food affects the consumer perception, the manufacturers may prepare the product according to its package directions for visual inspection. And we know that presentation is very much important. And if we talk about some food related item or product, so the packaging is done in such a way that it may attract the customer so that he may show interest in that product as well. Here are some other examples. In automobile manufacturing, quality control focuses on the way that parts fit together and interact, and ensuring engines operate smoothly and efficiently. So in automobile manufacturing, quality control may focus that how the different parts fit together and how do they interact with each other, and ultimately the engine must operate smoothly and efficiently. In another industry, and that is electronics, the testing might involve using of various meters that measure the flow of electricity, so whether they are measuring properly or not. The most important aspect of quality control is a set of written directives that describe relevant laboratory specific, technique specific, sample specific, method specific, and protocol specific operations. So another which is most important part of quality control, that we must have the directives in the written form, and these must be relevant to the laboratory, towards the technique, towards sample, towards method and protocol, that how the operations of these things will be performed. So these directives must be available. Then there are some terminologies which we must have to go through with while dealing with quality control. So first of them is Good Laboratory Practices GLPs. So these describe the general laboratory operations that we must have to follow in any analysis. So different operations being performed in a laboratory during analysis, so those are described in Good Laboratory Practices. These practices include properly recording data, so it deals with that the data must be properly recorded, and maintaining records, and records should be properly maintained. Using chain of custody forms for samples. So when sample is received, so these forms are available in the industries, which are called chain of custody forms. So using them properly, because they contain a large number of information about the sample, how it is collected, from where it is collected, and so on. So these must be used properly. Then specifying and purifying chemical reagents. So there are different chemical reagents in the laboratory. So to specify them properly, purify them properly, so this activity is also included in it. Then preparing commonly used reagents. So definitely we have to perform analysis. So we have to perform different tests, and in those tests we have to use different chemical reagents. So these chemical reagents must be prepared properly. Then cleaning and calibrating glassware, and whenever analysis is being performed, so glassware is being used over there, so they must be properly cleaned and calibrated. Then training laboratory personnel. So the person which is working over there, or which has to perform the chemical test, or which has to perform the analysis, he or she must be properly trained. And maintaining the laboratory facilities and general laboratory equipment, and all the equipments which are to be used during that analysis, so they must be properly maintained. So this includes all about the good laboratory practices. Another parameter is good measurement practices, GMPs. So these describe those operations specific to a technique. So the operations related to a specific technique are described in good measurement practices. Let's see. In general, GMPs provide instructions for maintaining, calibrating, and using equipment and instrumentation. So this can be explained with the help of an example. So for example, a GMP, a good measurement practice for a titration, describes how to calibrate the burette. We know that in titration we use the burette pipette. So a GMP for a titration describes how to calibrate a burette, how to fill the burette with titrant, then the correct way to read the volume of titrant in the burette. We know that there are meniscus curved upward or curved downward for colored or for colorless liquid. So what meniscus to be read? So this is told in this good measurement practices. So the correct way to read the volume of titrant in the burette, this also includes over here, and the correct way to dispense the titrant, and what is the right way to take the liquid, to take the titrant from the burette. So this all include in good measurement practices. Then another thing is standard operations procedure, SOP. The directions for analyzing a specific analyte in a specific matrix are described by a standard operations procedure, SOP. So we have a sample and we want to analyze that sample. So definitely there are some directions that how we will perform that analysis, and these directions are called standard operation procedure. The SOP indicates how we process a sample in laboratory. So how we will process that sample, as I mentioned earlier, how we separate the analyte from potential interferences. So if there are some interfering bodies, how those bodies are separated from the analyte of interest. How we standardize the method which we're going to opt, how we'll standardize that method. How we measure the analytical signal. So if we are using some equipment, so how and when the signal will be measured, how we transform the data into desired result, how the signal will be transformed into desired form of result, and how we use quality assessment tools to maintain quality control. So all of these things include in standard operations procedure. And if the laboratory is responsible for sampling too, then SOP also states how we collect the sample, how we process the sample, and how we preserve the sample in the field. So all of these things also include in SOPs. So let's start from quality. Quality is simply stated as fit for use or purpose. Mean you have purchased an item and definitely you have purchased it for some purpose. So whether it's performing its function well for that purpose or not, this is called quality of that product. So it is all about meeting the needs and expectations of the customer with respect to functionality, design, reliability, durability, and price of the product. So whenever a customer purchases a product, so he or she has some expectations behind that, and they might be due to the functionality of that product, how it functions, what is the design of that product, how much it is reliable in its performance, and what is the durability of the product, how long it works, and what is the price of the product, whether it's quite of handsome amount or it is very much expensive. In simpler words, meeting users' requirements is known as quality. So in this way we can sum up the term quality, that meeting users' requirements, so this is called quality of the product. For example, when analyzing sediments for cadmium, we might choose to screen sediment samples. So we have different sediment samples and we are going to analyze cadmium in those samples. So we may discarding a sample that contain foreign objects. So some of the sample may be discarded due to because it contains some foreign objects like rocks, twigs, or trash, and we may replace it with some another sample. So a sample may be rejected and replaced. Then if we observe a sudden change in the performance of atomic absorption spectrophotometer, we may choose to reanalyze the affected sample. We have taken a reading from of sample, mean we have performed an analysis of a sample on atomic absorption spectrophotometer, but the signal is there is a sudden change in the signal. So we may reanalyze that sample again by using AAS. Or third thing is, we may also decide to reanalyze a sample if the result of it is clearly unreasonable. So we have different samples and we are taking the readings of those samples by using some technique, and we are getting the result, and suddenly we see a sample whose result is quite very much different as per our expectation. So we'll again make on our instrument and we will reanalyze that sample whether the result is okay or not. By identifying those samples, measurements and results subject to gross systematic errors, inspection helps control the quality of an analysis. So in this way, quality of the analysis may be enhanced. And then second additional consideration is the certification of an analyst's competence to perform the analysis for which he or she is responsible. So second aspect is to see the person who is going to perform that test, whether he or she is able to perform that analysis or not. Before an analyst is allowed to perform a new analytical method, he or she may be required to analyze successfully an independent check sample with acceptable accuracy and precision. So suppose the analyst is going to perform an analysis and the method is totally a new method. So firstly, he will have to perform that method on some other sample, that is the test sample, and he will have to draw the results with some acceptable accuracy and precision. Then he will perform the method on the sample of interest. The check sample or the test sample which he has used in the first attempt, actually we are talking about that. So that is similar in composition to the samples that the analyst will analyze later. And this check sample, it will have the concentration that is 5 to 50 times that of the method's detection limit. So these things must be taken in consideration. So dear students, this was all about current video, but still there are a large number of videos in the pipeline. So to get them in touch with all of those videos, you need to subscribe my channel. So thanks for watching. Thank you very much.